One of the most controversial, influential, and celebrated figures in human history, Napoleon seized upon the opportunities created by the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789 and became a general at age 29. Napoleon Bonaparte, born on August 15, 1769, later known by his regnal name Napoleon I, was a French general and statesman who rose to prominence during the French Revolution and led a series of military campaigns across Europe during the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars. He led the French Republic as first consul, then ruled the French Empire as Emperor of the French, and briefly again in 1815. He was King of Italy from 1805 to 1814 and Protector of the Confederation of the Rhine from 1806 to 1813. Napoleon's parents, Carlo Maria Bonaparte and Maria Letizia Ramolino, lived in the Maison Bonaparte home in Ajaccio, where Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769. He had an elder brother, Joseph, and later, 6 younger siblings. Napoleon was born 1 year after the Republic of Genoa ceded Corsica to France. His father supported Pasquale Paoli during the Corsican War of Independence against France. The dominant influence of Napoleon's childhood was his mother, whose firm discipline restrained a rambunctious child. Later in life, Napoleon said, "The future destiny of the child is always the work of the mother." In January 1779, at age 9, Napoleon moved to the French mainland and enrolled at a religious school in Autun to improve his French because his mother tongue was the Corsican dialect of Italian. In May, he transferred to the military academy at Brienne-le-Château. In September 1784, Napoleon was admitted to the École Militaire in Paris, where he trained to become an artillery officer. He excelled at mathematics and read widely in geography, history, and literature. In September, he was examined by the famed scientist Pierre-Simon Laplace and became the first Corsican to graduate from the École Militaire. Upon graduating in September 1785, Napoleon Bonaparte was commissioned as second lieutenant in La Fère Artillery Regiment. He served in Valence and Oxo-Enemy until after the outbreak of the French Revolution in 1789, but spent long periods of leave in Corsica which fed his Corsican nationalism. In September 1789, he returned to Corsica and promoted the French revolutionary cause. Napoleon Bonaparte plunged into a complex three-way struggle among royalists, revolutionaries, and Corsican nationalists. He became a supporter of the Jacobins and joined the pro-French Corsican Republicans who opposed Paoli's policy and his aspirations to secede. In February 1793, Bonaparte took part in the failed French expedition to Sardinia. In July 1793, he published a pamphlet, Le Super de Beaucaire, demonstrating his support for the National Convention, which was now heavily influenced by the Jacobins. In September, with the help of his fellow Corsican Antoine Christophe Salicidi, Bonaparte was appointed artillery commander of the Republican forces sent to recapture the port of Toulon, which was occupied by Allied forces. He quickly increased the available artillery and proposed a plan to capture a hill fort where Republican guns could dominate the city's harbor and force the Allies to evacuate. Toulon brought Bonaparte to the attention of powerful men including Augustin Robespierre, the younger brother of Maximilien Robespierre, a leading Jacobin. He was promoted to brigadier general and put in charge of defenses on the Mediterranean coast. After the fall of Maximilien Robespierre in July 1794, Bonaparte's association with leading Jacobins made him politically suspect to the new regime. He was arrested on August 9 but released 2 weeks later. In April 1795, Bonaparte was assigned to the Army of the West, which was engaged in the war in the Vendée, a civil war and royalist counter-revolution in the Vendée region. As an infantry command, it was a demotion from artillery general and he pleaded poor health to avoid the posting. In August, he obtained a position with the Bureau of Topography where he worked on military planning. On September 15, Bonaparte was removed from the list of generals in regular service for refusing to serve in the Vendée campaign. Bonaparte's role in defeating the rebellion earned him and his family the patronage of the new government, the French Directory. On October 26, he was promoted to commander of the Army of the Interior, and in January 1796 he was appointed head of the Army of Italy. Bonaparte left Paris to take command of the Army of Italy. He went on the offensive, hoping to defeat the Kingdom of Sardinia in Piedmont before their Austrian allies could intervene. In a series of victories during the Montenoc campaign, he knocked the Piedmontese out of the war in 2 weeks. In this Italian campaign, Bonaparte's army captured 150,000 prisoners, 540 cannons, and 170 standards. The French army fought 67 actions and won 18 pitched battles through superior artillery technology and Bonaparte's tactics. Bonaparte extracted an estimated 45 million French pounds from Italy during the campaign, another £12 million in precious metals and jewels, and more than 300 paintings and sculptures. During the campaign, Bonaparte became increasingly influential in French politics. He founded 2 newspapers, one for the troops in his army and one for circulation in France. The royalists attacked him for looting Italy and warned that he might become a dictator. Bonaparte returned to Paris on December 5, 1797 as a hero. He met Charles Maurice de Talleyrand, France's foreign minister, and took command of the Army of England for the planned invasion of Britain. Bonaparte decided that France's naval strength was not yet sufficient to confront the British Royal Navy. He decided on a military expedition to seize Egypt and thereby undermine Britain's access to its trade interests in India. In May 1798, Bonaparte was elected a member of the French Academy of Sciences. Bonaparte stayed informed of European affairs. He learned that France had suffered a series of defeats in the War of the Second Coalition. On August 24, 1799, fearing that the Republic's future was in doubt, he took advantage of the temporary departure of British ships from French coastal ports and set sail for France, despite the fact that he had received no explicit orders from Paris. The army was left in the charge of Jean-Baptiste Kleber. On December 15, Bonaparte introduced the Constitution of the Year 8, under which 3 consuls were appointed for 10 years. Real power lay with Bonaparte as first consul, and his preferred candidates Cambyses and Charles-François Lebrun were appointed as second and third consuls who only had an advisory role. The Constitution also established a legislative body and tribunate which were selected from indirectly elected candidates, and a Senate and Council of State which were effectively nominated by the executive. Bonaparte's triumph at Marengo increased his popularity and political authority. However, he still faced royalist plots and feared Jacobin influence, especially in the army. Several assassination plots, including the conspiration de Poignards Dagger plot in October 1800 and the plot of the Rue Saint-Nicaise 2 months later, gave him a pretext to arrest about 100 suspected Jacobins and royalists, some of whom were shot and many others deported to penal colonies. Napoleon's coronation with the participation of Pope Pius VII took place at Notre Dame de Paris on December 2, 1804. After having been anointed by the Pope, Napoleon crowned himself with a replica of Charlemagne's crown. On May 26, Napoleon crowned himself King of Italy with the Iron Crown of Lombardy at the Cathedral of Milan. Austria saw this as a provocation because of its own territorial interests in Italy. By September 1805, Sweden, Russia, Austria, Naples and the Ottoman Empire had joined Britain in a coalition against France. For the French, this spectacular victory on land was soured by the decisive victory that the Royal Navy attained at the Battle of Trafalgar on October 21. After Trafalgar, the Royal Navy was never again seriously challenged by Napoleon's fleet. In 1813, Prussia and Austria joined Russia in the War of the Sixth Coalition, in which Napoleon was decisively defeated at the Battle of Leipzig. The coalition invaded France and captured Paris, forcing Napoleon to abdicate in April 1814. They exiled him to the Mediterranean island of Elba and restored the Bourbons to power. 10 months later, Napoleon escaped from Elba on a brig, landed in France with 1,000 men, and marched on Paris, again taking control of the country. His opponents responded by forming a seventh coalition, which defeated him at the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815. Napoleon was baptized in Ajaccio on July 21, 1771, and raised a Roman Catholic. He began to question his faith at age 13 while at Brienne. Napoleon's civil code of laws, known from 1807 as the Napoleonic Code, was implemented in March 1804. It was prepared by committees of legal experts under the supervision of Jean-Jacques Regis de Cambyses, the second consul. Napoleon participated actively in the sessions of the Council of State that revised the drafts. Napoleon married Josephine in 1796, but the marriage produced no children. In 1806, he adopted his stepson Eugène de Beauharnais and his second cousin, Stéphanie de Beauharnais, and arranged dynastic marriages for them. Napoleon's marriage to Marie-Louise produced one child, Napoleon Francis Joseph Charles Napoleon II, known from birth as the King of Rome. When Napoleon abdicated in 1815, he named his son his successor as Napoleon II, but the Allies refused to recognize him. He was awarded the title of the Duke of Reichstadt. Considered to be his greatest legacy, Napoleon's civil code assured the spread of the ideals of the French Revolution long after the end of his rule. Military accomplishments saved the French Revolution, won key battles against Austria and Prussia, and revolutionized military organization and training. Number 1 is institutional reforms. Number 2 is established the Napoleonic Code, which influenced laws in many countries. Number 3 is he founded the Banque de France. Number 4 is established military academies and a centralized university. Number 5 is reorganized education. Number 6 is he established the Concordat with the papacy. Number 7 is spread of French values. Number 8 is spread the values of the French Revolution to other countries, particularly legal reform. Number 9 is indirectly began the process of Latin American independence. Number 10 is other impacts religious freedom for Protestants and Jews, development of the port of Antwerp, and the emergence of Egyptology. Number 11 is laid the foundations of the modern French state. Left durable institutions on which modern France was built. Number 12 is used as the basis of certain parts of law in the Dominican Republic, the U.S. state of Louisiana, and the Canadian province of Quebec.